Good day. My name is William Baliko. I'm a senior student at University of Lethbridge. In my final year, I do blacksmithing and sculpture work. We're coming to you live today from Fort Whoop-Up, and this is the very room that William Gladstone would have been smithing in here at the fort. William James Shanks Gladstone, or more commonly known as Old Glad, was the man responsible for raising the second Fort Whoop-Up. It was the Hudson Bay Company and Rocky Mountain House in Fort Edmonton that brought him west, but he kept busy working all across the area for several notable employers. It took him and his Métis crew of approximately 40 men 2 whole years of building the new Fort Whoop-Up. Old Glad, William Gladstone, was an accomplished boat builder, church raiser, carpenter, and of course, a skilled blacksmith. On top of all that, Old Glad built the first carpentry shop and the first frame house in Alberta. And we're going to be building some knives today, bringing them to life, and showing you a little bit of the process and the history of blacksmithing here at Fort Whoop-Up.
Alright, so at this point, what I'm looking for is a specific heat, a certain color. So we're looking for an amber heat is what it's called. Blacksmiths measure temperature more by color than by anything else. It's just a lot easier, and this is kind of the color that we're getting to right on the tip here. It fades pretty quickly, but it's a workable heat. You can also test by magnet as well, but I didn't bring my magnet today, so we'll just be going off of the heat color. So yeah, right now they were pretty thrifty back in the day. Used a lot of recycled steel, waste not, want not, and so this used to be a railroad spike. It's hard to tell that except for on the tip, which will eventually become the blade. But what I'm doing right now is drawing it out and squaring it off. Drawing out is the blacksmith term for lengthening it. You can usually double the length of a piece of steel when you draw it out. So what I'm doing here is brushing off the slag. You'll get bits of metal that become too much iron, not enough steel, and or maybe just impurities. And throughout the process, it's good to clean off that slag with a wire brush to keep the final product the best quality it could be. So you may have noticed we've moved to a lighter hammer, a different, little bit less beastie, and we're doing a lot more of the kind of finesse work, making sure that it keeps its shape, and more working, keeping in mind how straight it is, whereas before, the first drawing out process, it's okay to just kind of hammer on it really hard. Now we're being a little bit more precise, hitting a bit more squarely. And we're actually working with the angle of the hammer as well, not hitting squarely on. All right, and after a full day of smithing, we have our finished knife. There's still a bit of refining and grinding, a lot of grinding to go, but at this point, we can talk about this trader's or trapper's knife. This was a utility item that just about everyone on the frontier would have had. They were very useful. It didn't matter what you were doing or what your living situation was like. This is something that you would have had as a tool that would have been invaluable on the frontier, and especially around the fort here, no matter what was going on. This particular knife is a little bit different, as you could probably tell. It's a half-tang knife, which means the steel only goes about halfway into the handle. This one will end up being what's called a full-tang knife, where the steel goes all the way through the handle, and that would have been more sturdy and more common too, unless the smith was trying to save on steel and cut down costs for whoever they were smithing their knife for. But ideally, you went for that full tang. So yeah, there'll be some grinding left to do, some polishing for sure, and then of course mounting on a handle. But at this point, you have a knife and you're ready to go and have an adventure out in the frontier.